Today we're going to look at the main 3 reasons why you have tinnitus, and what are the absolute best ways to naturally reduce or even remove it. And if you don't know what tinnitus is, it's when you hear a ringing, roaring, buzzing, hissing, or throbbing sound in your ears or in your head, and it can be constant, or it can come and go. It can be soft, or it can be really loud. Some people describe it as a ringing in their ears, and others say they hear a roaring sound like ocean waves or a constant buzzing like a mosquito. And this can make it very difficult to sleep, concentrate, or relax. So how do we fix it? Well, let's explore the root causes, and then we'll talk about what you can do to stop it. The first and probably the most common cause of tinnitus is something called vascular tinnitus. Now, vascular tinnitus is caused by blood flow sounds that are coming from the arteries and veins in your head and your neck. In fact, over 60% of people with tinnitus have some degree of vascular tinnitus. And that makes sense, because there are a lot of blood vessels around the ear and in the head, and so sounds from these blood vessels can easily travel into the inner ear and get perceived as noises. But this is where it gets interesting, because you see these blood flow sounds are usually too quiet for you to actually hear them, unless you put your ear right up against an artery or a vein and listen closely. However, the tricky part is that these sounds don't always stay within the blood vessels, but they can actually spread out into the surrounding tissues in the head, and that's because there are microscopic holes in those tissues which allow the sound energy to leak through, and then you hear the noise in your ears, and this spreading of the sound waves can happen anywhere in your head. And in fact, research has shown that the primary area where this occurs is in the middle cranial fossa, which is the middle section of your skull that sits behind your eyes and above your nose. So now that we understand where the noise is coming from, let's look at what you can do about it. Now, one thing that you can do is take steps to improve your circulation, and the easiest way to do that is to start taking regular walks, because exercise like walking increases blood flow throughout your entire body, including your brain and your head, and this increased blood flow can help to reduce the volume of the blood flow noises, and therefore help to reduce tinnitus. Also, another great way to improve your circulation is to take a hot shower, because hot water causes your blood vessels to dilate or widen, which increases the blood flow. Another thing you can do is to take some cold showers or wash your face with cold water, because this will cause your blood vessels to constrict or narrow, which will decrease blood flow and help to reduce the noise. Also, you can try drinking more water, because dehydration can make tinnitus worse. One study found that almost 70% of participants reported an improvement in their tinnitus when they drank more water. Another thing you can do is to use a humidifier or a nasal irrigation device to add moisture to the air inside your sinuses, because dry air can make tinnitus worse, and also having stuffiness inside your sinuses can push on the eardrum and make tinnitus worse. So this is especially useful if you have a deviated septum or nasal polyps or allergies. Speaking of allergies, if you have allergies, you should definitely try to avoid your triggers, because inflammation in your sinuses can cause pressure to build up in your ears, and that can make tinnitus much worse. So if you know what your triggers are, try to avoid them. And if you don't know what your triggers are, try to keep a food and symptom journal for a few weeks and write down everything you eat every day and how you feel after you eat it. This can help you find any food triggers that might be causing inflammation in your sinuses and making your tinnitus worse. Now, food allergies are the most common type of allergy, but it could also be a reaction to something in the environment like dust or pollen. And if you think that you may have an allergy causing your tinnitus, then consider getting tested for allergies and getting immunotherapy, because this treatment helps to desensitize your body to the things that you're allergic to, and it can reduce inflammation in your sinuses, which can improve tinnitus. The second reason why you might have tinnitus is something called pathological tinnitus. Now, pathological tinnitus isn't caused by sounds from the blood vessels in your head, but instead it's caused by actual damage to the cells in your inner ear or to the nerve pathways that connect your inner ear to your brain. Now, most people assume that this damage is caused by loud noise exposure, and that's true in some cases. but it can also be caused by an imbalance of certain minerals in your body, like too much calcium or too little potassium. In fact, low potassium levels are associated with an increased risk of developing tinnitus. So one way to help reduce pathological tinnitus is to increase your intake of potassium-rich foods like leafy greens, avocados, bananas, and sweet potatoes. On the other hand, you need to be careful not to consume too much sodium, because high sodium levels can deplete potassium and make tinnitus worse. So watch out for hidden sources of sodium in processed foods and condiments like soy sauce, salad dressings, ketchup, and deli meats. And if you have symptoms of low potassium, like muscle weakness, fatigue, or constipation, then definitely talk to your doctor about getting a blood test to measure your potassium levels. And if your levels are low, then your doctor might prescribe you potassium supplements. Now, pathological tinnitus can also be caused by oxidative stress or damage from free radicals in your cells. And to help reduce this type of tinnitus, you need to load up on antioxidants. The best antioxidants come from colorful plant foods like berries, tomatoes, leafy greens, and onions. So try to include a variety of these foods in your diet to help reduce tinnitus. And the third reason why you have tinnitus is something called psychological tinnitus. And this means that tinnitus is a symptom of an underlying emotional problem like anxiety or stress. In fact, a recent study found that people with higher trait anxiety were more likely to report having tinnitus than those with lower anxiety levels. And the good news is that if your tinnitus is caused by anxiety, there are some simple things you can do to help calm down and reduce your overall stress levels. The most effective way to do this is to practice deep breathing exercises where you breathe deeply through your stomach rather than through your chest. You see, when you're stressed, you tend to breathe rapidly and shallowly through your upper chest, which activates your sympathetic nervous system and makes you feel more alert and anxious. But if you consciously slow down your breathing and breathe deeply through your belly, this activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which will calm you down and reduce your anxiety levels. Another thing you can do is to practice progressive muscle relaxation, where you tense and then relax different muscles in your body to help reduce physical tension. You can also practice mindfulness meditation, where you focus your attention on the present moment without judgment. There are many guided meditations available online that can help you to calm down and reduce stress and anxiety. Watch this video next because it has some of the most important information on tinnitus that I have ever seen. And I think you'll be seeing this video. As always, I wish you great health, wealth, and happiness. Subscribe now. You might never see this video or any other helpful one.